Hello, viewers. Once again, we're back here for another episode. I hope you enjoyed our last episode. I'm told here by Dr. Mark that it was quite dense, quite a bit of information. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you all think.
Technically, it's still uploading to YouTube right now, but it's going to be a good one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, well, anyways, this is
Mark.
And I'm Elmer. And
this
we are
PSI.
Piano Scene Investigations.
This is Eager and Grogu. They're with us today in the plant, Miss Fernie.
Yeah.
And of course, as always, Mr. Wagner's over here.
Yes. Well, anyways, before we move on, please, if you enjoyed our content, you enjoy our company, let your friends, neighbors, family know about us, and please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, hit that bell so you don't miss an episode, and feel free to comment on anything that we've talked about or what you want us to talk about. I think we've been doing a pretty good job, keeping track of the information. Hopefully it's all accurate. But anyways, today is 4th of July.
Yeah, and our guys are wrapped in the colors.
Yeah.
Lord, Happy 4th, everybody.
Yes,
it'll be gone by the time you see the show.
Yes.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go again.
I swear to God, he's getting paid for this. You're pocketing money on this one.
We'll both be getting paid. Hopefully you're taking care of your piano, folks. Once again, I'm going to give you another look at the Corey piano polish. This one's for super high gloss. Okay. So take a good look at it.
This is like the piano version of Upkeep plastic surgery for your piano.
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
keeps it fresh and crisp and shiny and all that. And this kind of thing, actually, this is good for the wood. My dad, as I've said many times, he always swore by just pure lemon oil. Rub that in.
Yes.
And it really does make a difference. Gosh, it's a little sad when you see a piano that's just really dried out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put all of the lemon oil on it. Sometimes it won't take on a piano that's been let go so long.
Oh.
It's like the pores are closed up and just like dead. The wood's just basically dead. But keep in mind that the wood of the piano is important for the resonating of the instrument.
Yeah.
It's part of the vibration. Think of it like a violin.
Mm-hmm.
What makes the violin is that little box, and the little what's the
post?
The posts, yeah.
Sound post.
If that thing dried out, what kind of sound would it have? So, piano's the same way. Even if they got these high polished veneers and stuff on them, there's still wood in there.
Yeah.
But you have to have the right kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
to use on the veneer, because if it's wrong, it's going to smear. Won't really.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyways, I hope you've all enjoyed our last episode. We talked quite a bit about Karl Szymanowski, right? And we also, what?
Go ahead.
Well, we talked about Karl Szymanowski. We brought up some scores, and we talked quite a bit about his influence and things. We also brought in, for the All Pieces Considered segment, we brought in, what was it?
Harbison's
Gatsby Etudes. Yes.
And
and we brought in something else. It was the Cacciatorian's.
Before that was Cacciatorian.
Yeah, the Cacciatorian Adagio
on
from
a ballet or an
Spartacus.
opera or something?
Yeah, it's a ballet.
Yeah,
The
Spartacus.
Cacciatorian Ballet Spartacus, transcribed by Matthew Cameron, I think.
Cameron, it was, yeah.
So, but
The
anyways,
Shimanovsky was really a good thing. It's gonna be a really good episode. I've just been very busy, and this one has a lot of good stuff in it, but I think we were really scratching parts of the iceberg, and I felt like it was more important to put up some information more than usual in order to kind of fill in or pique your curiosity. I mean, we're not here to do your homework, in a sense. I mean, it's not for us to even presume to deliver every possible bit of information to you, because you can look it up yourselves, you know?
Absolutely. We're here to inspire.
Yeah, that's it.
And pianists.
So he inspired me, and I found
Absolutely.
this book. This is that Shimanov. I know, I'm sorry, it looks like another infamous person when Robin pulled it out of the bag. She said, oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
No, this is Karl Shimanovsky. He's Ukrainian, Polish, amazing composer.
Yeah.
You'll learn about him in the next show.
Yeah.
Or the last show, which will be up online pretty soon.
Yes. We cannot afford to keep overlooking this guy. Any of you serious pianists out there who wants to find some really serious repertoire, take a good look at his repertoire. Now, if you've still been enjoying us, I want to give you a heads up on what future upcomings on our show. This is Walter Gieseking's and Carl Leimer's book, Piano Technique, published by Dover. We will be reviewing this book sometime in the future. This is the groundwork of the Leczetitsky method. Take a good look at this one. This is an interesting book.
This is
Malvina Bray.
Malvina Bray.
Malvina
she was
Bray.
one of Leczetitsky's teaching assistants. This book is even available. I've got an original copy from my teacher Ellsworth, and then I've got one copy like this, hard copy. I also have it as a Kindle book.
Whew.
And they make this as an ebook with all the pictures inside and everything.
He's as bad as I am.
Huh?
You're as bad as I
Well,
am.
when it comes to that book.
Yeah, I know.
Especially.
Okay, anyways, and the third book over here, Alexander Paskinov. This is the Russian Technical Regimen for the Piano, if you're interested. It came out in 5 or 6 volumes or something?
6.
6 volumes?
There's the introductory.
This is the introductory.
5 separate volumes of different exercises.
Yes. So, be on the lookout. Okay, we'll be talking about these in the near future. Okay, so, how's your week been? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, I was busy, but nothing specific to report on. But we kind of moved into summer session with choirs, and they're all excited and working on new repertoire. Actually, we got some new members, especially in the ladies' course, so they're kind of learning and otherwise reviewing some of the kind of bulk repertoire that the other ladies, I mean, you wake them up at 3 in the morning, they can sing the words by memory.
Wow.
They know the pieces so well, but there's some new ladies that need to learn it. And as our vice president, who's interim president right now, our Johannes is in Austria, but Harry said he thinks the numbers are now at about 70% of the people in the choruses are not German speakers, or certainly not native German speakers. So it's important to go over the translations and everything. That doesn't prevent people from joining us. At the Columbus Arts Festival recently, we had a spot, tent kind of thing, and they took down 150 names on a list of people that were interested. Good portion of them for social membership, you know, drinking beer and having fun and parties and stuff like that. But I think that there was 50 to 70 people that expressed possibly some interest in singing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a good group. It's the oldest extant German singing organization in all of North America, including Canada.
Wow.
Here in Columbus, Ohio, 1848. Yeah.
Wow. Well, folks, it being
Well, how was your weekend?
My week? Oh, my week. Let's see. What happened this week? Let's see. My wife had a birthday a couple days ago.
Oh,
That was quite fun. We had I spent all my time in the kitchen.
you were cooking?
I was cooking.
Wow.
Now, fortunately, well,
Now, I thought that you couldn't cook anything other than fried rice.
no, well, they asked for that. Okay, they asked for that. So,
Really?
yeah, the rest of the stuff. Kathy's sort of, like simple foods. So we made salmon cakes, and I made this concoction that's side item involves like scrambled eggs, salsa.
Ooh. This with the rice? Is all fried together?
No, it wasn't fried together.
Separate.
I mean, it was separate. I mean, it was the fried rice. Okay, the fried rice I did quite a bit differently. All it had was I didn't put any scrambled eggs in it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, simply because there was already scrambled eggs on as a side item with the salsa and the other stuff. So all it had was minced garlic, some onions, green peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers,
Wow.
and carrots. There was carrots in it, and that's pretty much it. Shallots. Oh, I forgot the shallots.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Everything
I got up at
kitchen
5 o'clock in the morning to do this, folks. And so by the time I was done, everybody was ready for
brunch.
Yeah, I mean, everybody slept in, and I was the first one to get up. I had hot coffee already, and so everybody got up at
What day was
10:30.
this?
It was Tuesday.
Oh, cool.
Tuesday. So it was fun.
Good for you.
Yeah, boy, that was hard work. That was worse than preparing for my grandchildren to come up.
No,
So-
at some point, I made it could work for both of us. I mean, especially me. I collect cookbooks. I mean, I'm a book feed, right?
Yeah,
I could
absolutely.
open a bookstore, right? A little bookstore.
Yeah.
This is just part of it. This is maybe 1/5, 1/6 at most. The rest of it's behind you and out in the hall. And there's some more in the healing room, we call it. But my cookbooks are back over here and a little bit right through the hall.
Yeah.
I've got a big collection because I love food.
Oh, we both do.
My dad was a fabulous cook. And I just kind of got into it because of my grandma when I was around 14 or so. This is when I started to collect some recipes and make things work. One of my proudest moments was I learned how to make Hungarian cabbage rolls. This cabbage with the meat and rice inside.
Yeah.
And then you put tomato sauce on the outside.
Yeah.
And of course, the real special, and the thing that makes them all unique,
Yeah.
partially is what herbs you mix in with the meat and the rice.
Yeah.
But then also what you put in tomato sauce. But I have lots of different recipes, but the one I had in the teens, I tried to make it, and it was really good. Surprisingly, because Grandma was an amazing cook, and they always ate at home. They grew up in the Depression, and they were farm people, more or less, and Grandma was incredible. And it's always pretty simple stuff. I mean, it was like major sauces and crazy shit like that. It was good ingredients, a lot of it from out of their backyard. But the thing I was proudest of at that time was I made the Hungarian cabbage rolls for Grandma and Grandpa and brought them over to them in a big casserole and stuff, and we warmed it up and they were eating it.
Wow. Wonderful.
Later that evening, Grandma asked me for the recipe.
Ooh, that is a compliment indeed.
I mean, that's
from your grandmother. There's one thing from your mom,
Yeah.
but grandmother?
Yeah.
Whoa!
It's like a Guy Fieri comes and said, "Damn, that's a good burger. Can I have your recipe?" No way. That's never going to happen. But anyway, I think it's a fair game that, occasionally we talk about food and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
That's part of the joy of life, right?
Yes, absolutely. Food is,
And musicians,
we are what we eat.
when we're young, a lot of us don't have a lot of money and we get by with what we can.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it remains like that a little bit throughout your life. But when you can get some good food, we like good food.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we're notorious for that. particularly classical musicians.
Yeah.
I know a story. Nadia Salerno Sonnenberg?
Violinist.
Yeah, the violinist. Yeah, she gave an interview once, and to prepare for the violin competition over there at Juilliard, she spent a whole month in her apartment living on, let's see, 2-liter Pepsis,
Oh,
gallons of chocolate chip ice cream,
my God.
and a whole box cartons of Marlboros. Cigarettes. That's what she said. That's what she said.
And she lived to play in the competition.
Yes. Yes, she did. And she won.
Oh my God.
She won.
Well,
Yeah,
she was on stimulants like crazy.
Yeah. So
I mean, Coke,
ice cream,
chocolate
sugar,
ice cream, and cigarettes.
cigarettes. Yeah.
That girl was slammed up, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She was a slam.
I used to like her playing, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she was weird. I mean, very unusual phrasing. I mean, interpretation stuff, but not reckless. I always thought there's something interesting. One time was so gripped by a performance of the Mendelssohn E minor concerto.
Oh yeah.
I was listening to it, not from the very beginning, so I didn't know who it was. And I got home and I sat in the car, turned it off and everything, but radio was on. I wanted to hear who this violinist was.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the whole damn thing all the way to the end until the guy said, and then said, Nadia Salerno Sonnenberg. Who's that?
Okay.
I mean, this was decades ago.
Yeah.
When she was just coming out.
Yeah.
But I read about her. She is she in Italy now?
I don't know where she is.
She studied with Dorothy DeLay, I think.
Yeah, she did.
At Juilliard,
Dorothy DeLay.
that.
Absolutely.
Um, and she had a pretty good career for a while. And then I don't want to speak out of turn, but I remember that she's still alive.
Yeah.
I think the article said she was in Italy now.
Okay.
She had some downtimes.
Yeah.
But I think she's teaching or even possibly in a position somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I was impressed with how well she can relate with people, just regular people. But on the other hand, when she's up there on stage performing like the Brahms Concerto, oh boy, she really brought in the storm. Comes out there all full go. She's consumed completely by the music.
Yeah.
And I mean, you watch her nostrils flaring and the expression on her
maybe
face.
that's part of it that drives her interpretations the way they are. She is so much a emotional and physically
absolutely
type of player. You know.
Check out her interview on 60 Minutes.
Okay.
She was on 60 Minutes decades ago. And that was my first introduction to her, was when she was there, and she was, I don't know who it was, Mike Wallace was interviewing her, and she had a cigarette, and they were just sitting there in a room, and they were just talking about, you know, what her life was like at Juilliard. And that's where I heard that story about how she lived for a month on
I have heard that before
Pepsi,
about her,
ice cream, and a carton of cigarettes.
You know, consider that she came out and had her career starting in the heyday of Itzhak Perlman and Pinchas Zuckerman.
Oh yeah.
Those guys were like, in our time when we were younger, in our 20s and stuff, come on. Itzhak Perlman was like the cyclone of violinists at the time.
Oh yeah.
But still, I mean, he's a remarkable player.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's some aspect about him which is like Chinese dude.
Yo-Yo Ma.
Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah.
Some of just, you know, there's like brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's kind of genius brilliant.
Oh yeah.
And somehow just, and it has more to do with just kind of a natural way that they.
Yeah, and he exudes a particular charm, even when he was playing virtuosic things. Perlman, oh yeah. I mean, have you ever seen him do like the Paganini Caprices?
Yeah.
He's sitting there, he's smiling the whole time. The whole time.
With his eyes closed.
With his eyes closed, exactly.
And you keep in mind, I don't know if you guys know this, but Perlman suffered from polio.
Yeah.
Not literally, I mean, it got him.
Oh, yeah.
So that he used to walk in on stage with the two little cane things, sit down in a chair, and then somebody would hand him his violin and bow. Because he couldn't walk out on his own.
Oh, yeah, and he is a charmer. I got to see him live once up in Toledo. I was in high school at the time, and he goes up there, and nobody knew about what was going on, but he kept going out like this. You know, he was pushing something in his ear. I thought it was like sort of some kind of earphone, right?
Yeah.
And so he's up there performing, and everybody's enjoying the concert. And then the intermission time, you know, we took 15 minutes off, and we come back into the concert for the second half of the concert. He comes in, sits down, he's getting ready to play, you know, and he stops, you know, halfway before he's about to give the down bow, and stops for a second, puts his instrument down, goes out like this, and he says, "Excuse me, folks.
Yes.
I'd like to let you know that the Detroit Tigers are now up ahead 3 points. It's the World Series.
Baseball
Big fan of the baseball.
Huge baseball.
So he was giving this the score at the final inning that the Tigers were up ahead 3 points. So 3 runs. It was the funniest thing though. The whole audience just bursted out laughing, and so he's still sitting there listening, going, you know, nodding his head. It was like big smile. And so you just let him have his moment with his baseball, and so before that, you know, after that, you know, onward to the concert. So
yeah, I wanted to just, since we're talking about some of the older guys, there's there's a few of them that I like that I've heard recently. There's a guy named Christian Tetzlaff, Tetzlaff. I really like his work. He did the Mozart concertos. It's a really wonderful sound. I've heard him do even the Brahms, I think. He's not up and coming. I mean, he's kind of up and been there a little while. And I don't know if it's a wife or a sister, but there's a female that has the same name. I don't think she plays violin. I think she plays another string instrument, maybe. They're related, presumably. Then the other guy, like, I may have to correct the name if I don't get it right, but August Herdlich.
Oh, Hadlick. Or Hadlick?
Hadlick?
Yeah, something like that. I know who you're talking about. Wow is right.
He's, his interpretations aren't as out there as Swinburne.
Yeah.
But he's really in the moment when he's playing. Mm-hmm. There's an intensity about it. And I wouldn't put him on the same level as, like, Heifetz or even Chrysler in a certain kind of way. Because it looks like he works at it.
Oh, yeah.
And now I also kind of say Joshua Bell probably belongs up there with Heifetz and Chrysler. He was kind of a prodigy anyway.
Yeah.
He has a way of playing which is so it looks kind of easy for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This what's his last name?
Hadlich.
Hadlich. Yeah. I think
Hadellich.
August, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know he's right. Yeah.
But I really love the playing I've seen of him, and he shows up with my music feeds and my news. Yeah. Little moments here and there where they're put. So the boy's busy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's doing much over here.
No.
But maybe in Europe. And
but he's
who's the Scottish violinist?
The Scottish violinist.
Did you ever
is it she?
Yeah. I'll look her name up.
Okay.
Because she deserves to be mentioned. And is Hilary Hahn an American or?
She is American.
So it's not her. There's a newish one, but there's a girl that's playing from Scotland who's really doing some interesting things. One of my favorites always was Anna Sophie Mutter. Mm-hmm. I remember when she made her more or less debut with Von Karajan. Yeah. Remember in the Beethoven Triple Concerto, it was her, Christian Zimmermann, and the cellist. I'll put his name up because I almost know it right there. I think it begins with a J. His first name. He's really famous cellist. But Von Karajan had these 3 kids and brought them out. They were all around 14 at best. Yeah. And did that Beethoven Triple Concerto. I think he was with Berlin Philharmonic. I think I have the album.
Then years later, she marries Andre Previn.
She was married to Andre Previn?
Yes!
Anna Sophie Mutter?
Sophie Mutter, yeah.
Because she was married to a surgeon, right?
I don't know anything about that, but I just remember hearing.
Is that where she had the money to pay for those dresses that she was famous for?
I don't know.
Who's it? It's not Cartier's watches, but who's the famous French gown maker? The Christian Dior.
Oh, okay.
She was famous for wearing Dior dresses, many of which were made for her. Wow. Yeah, she had some bucks. Yeah. Now, I'm sure she earned a lot of it. She earned a lot of it. Yeah. But I thought at least the marriage that she was long in, and was a German surgeon.
Okay, that
He
one I
died.
didn't know about.
He died.
He did.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she's a widow now. It hit her pretty hard, apparently. I think she even did a memorial recording for him.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That was done sometime after he died. Yeah, so those are violinists, but we love anybody who makes good music.
Absolutely.
And of course, the violinists were the first really nutty virtuosos, right? Going all the way back to Corelli. People like that.
Tartini, the Devil's
Tartini
Trills.
and Paganini. Paganini's the one who caused Liszt to go into his room and practice for 6 to 8 hours a day for 4 to 6 years and become Franz
Liszt. Yeah.
You know, thanks to a violinist.
Yeah. Read his accounts. Franz Liszt. There's accounts in the Harold C. Schoenberg, great pianist, where he talks about living in seclusion for a while, where he's not only just training this with scales, octaves, double notes, and everything, but he's feeding this. So he's talking about reading all the Shakespeare, and reading all the Dumas and the Bible, and he says his hands and mind working like two damned ones is how he describes it. So amazing. And so after his little seclusion sabbatical there, he comes out practically a complete artist. Not that he wasn't before, but something completely different.
Well, I'm no Franz Liszt, but I patterned myself after things like that. I mean, my big hero was Arthur Rubinstein.
Oh, yeah.
When I started studying at the age of 14 with Dr. Wynn at the university, he accepted me. And then shortly about that time, I got a copy of Arthur Rubinstein's the first book.
My Young Years.
My Young Years.
Yeah, My Young Years.
It's wonderful. Because,
gosh.
God, the man knew, now not all the people he knew were like world famous.
Yeah.
But as we become professional and experienced musicians, you know who Paul Kuczynski was.
Yeah.
The violinist.
Yeah.
Very important guy. And some interesting recordings.
Yeah.
But Rubinstein just knew everybody. Plus, he went to Bayreuth around 1900. I mean, when Cosima was still running everything.
Yeah.
That was even before Siegfried took over. And he knew all these great artists. He knew Chaliapin.
Mm-hmm.
He knew Emmy Destine.
Yeah.
You know, he may have well been more than friendly with Emmy Destine, possibly. You know, I mean, my God. He was my hero. Yeah. And I just loved the way he talked about when he studied with Professor Bard, that he would just put the exercises up and then just play them. And then he'd have a bowl of lit white chocolate.
Yeah.
And then you have a book that he'd also put up at the piano desk, and he'd be reading the book while he's just like playing this stuff. He said, you know, you do this all the time, and your mind just learns it.
Yeah.
Mind numbing. So he said you could just do it in your sleep, and then do something. Read a book.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I started to do the same kind of thing. Plus, this whole idea that a musician makes a lot of sense, right? We are expressing the spirit and the ideas of a culture and society in spirit through the music. Yeah. You better know about the culture.
Yeah.
You go and play Beethoven? You want to capture certain aspects about what he was about and everything? Think about what happened during his lifetime, the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah.
You know, and he himself, I mean, there was Haydn, who happily was a musical serf until the last 9 years of his life. He was very lucky. He had a very good employer who really valued him for what he could do. And he became Papa Haydn, I mean, the father of the whole classical world, and created a lot of this stuff himself. And then there was Mozart, who broke away. His dad stayed with, I forget what the office was, Archbishop probably, Salzburg. But Mozart was the first one to kind of break away and go private. Now, I've told you before, there's stories. I think he was doing better financially than historically set up.
Yes, exactly.
The reason that he was buried in an anonymous grave was not for financial reasons.
Nope.
It was for political and very personal type of higher class social reasons.
Yeah.
We talked about that before in the book of Francis, C-I-S Carr, C-A-R-R.
Yeah.
The British attorney who wrote a book called Mozart and Costanza. lays out a very impressive idea about what he think happened, what went on. But then Beethoven comes along.
Yeah.
And he's the one, like when he and Czerny are playing four hands
Yeah.
at a salon concert, the some bossy guy, big guy, Count or something, comes into the room and he's talking while they're playing. Before he comes and sits down, he's talking, addressing a few people, as though it's like mood music in Las Vegas or something. Beethoven takes Czerny's hands off the piano. He takes his hands off the piano and he closes the lid. And this guy suddenly realizes it's quiet.
Yeah.
And he calls him, Herr Beethoven, why did you stop the music? Well, when my dear Count speaks, the whole world must be silent. And the guy was embarrassed.
Not sure.
And probably a bit pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
But it was Beethoven.
It's Beethoven.
I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, it was Beethoven. He had super rich aristocratic people supporting him through his life.
Yeah.
And he could do no wrong. Now, he was he was productive.
Oh, yeah.
Everything, he was constantly creating new stuff. And he more or less stayed out of trouble.
Oh, yeah. Pretty
I mean,
well.
unlike some other people, composers and such, musicians. But, I mean, he was known. He was known in the United States.
Yeah.
And we're talking, early 19th century.
Yeah.
Just when Abe Lincoln is getting born and growing up, And the people in England knew about him. He did that God Save the King thing.
God Save the King variations, yeah.
So
Or Britannia.
but I mean, just if you think, in Beethoven's lifetime, when he was born in 1770, to when he does the Heiligenstadt thing, I think it was 1804.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
34 years old or so like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the remaining 20 years of his life, died in 27. You got to know what was going on at that time.
Yeah.
What happened? There were some serious moves from above in the governments to try to utilize the ideas of humanistic philosophies from Jean-Jacques Rousseau and from John Locke in England, and these philosophers who were the basis for what happened in America. And, that was a big deal. Everybody was paying attention to that. These colonists in America took on what everybody knew, hands down, even though they wouldn't have wanted to admit it nationalistically. They took on the British Empire.
Yeah, they did.
Nobody takes on the British Empire.
No.
I mean, finally, with all the trouble he made in Europe, Napoleon took on the British Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't win.
No, he didn't.
And so these little colonist guys are like fighting a guerrilla war against the British Empire. Yeah. And we won.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry.
Well, the British have been
come
around.
on,
The British have been around for a very long time.
So they were paying attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
by comparison, the United States is still a teenager.
Yeah.
And if you look at comparison of how far they've come.
So I don't mean to talk so much about
That's all right.
it, but I mean, so when they talk about Beethoven being kind of a hero or part of a revolutionary period and everything, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you think about the music, perhaps from that perspective, and I'm not saying it has to be the only way you look at his music, because I would say when I hear Wilhelm Kempff play Beethoven in many cases, it doesn't sound revolutionary. There's something beautiful about the way he plays Beethoven. It's sometimes very serene and lovely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not sure who I would think of. But, yeah, I mean... and then, actually, I think it's very interesting if you listen to Chopin, played by, Friedman or Rubinstein. But then you read about him. He was an incredibly violently passionate patriot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For Polish freedom.
Yeah. Just listen to the Polonaises.
Yeah, well, the Polonaise.
Yeah, or the Revolutionary Etude.
Yes.
The Defiant.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
And then for that matter, all those mazurkas that he wrote, which are an expression of the most profoundly basic aspect of his people in the dance. This is the way that their cultures express their dance. Do you know that there are feminine mazurkas and there are masculine mazurkas.
Okay.
And in many cases, they appear in the same piece. But in some cases, one is more predominant over the other. We have to know a little bit about how the women danced and how it went to make sure that you have that infused as an understanding of it. And I'm a little brag moment right here, but I played for some Polish people when I was a professor in Cyprus. They were guests at a national level, and I was asked to play. So I played some Chopin for them, which was rather brazen. But it was really cool because one of the people was a very tall woman who was working with the government, the Polish government. She herself was a concert pianist.
Boy, here we go.
And there was 4 of them there, and a bunch of other people kind of got up and they went and kind of walked away and stuff because it was in a big, huge space. They sat there and listened to me play. I said, "Did they give me applaud?" And they said, "You want some more?" "Oh, yes." So I ended up playing everything that I had planned, and they wanted to hear it. When they were done, I thought this was a really good compliment that the lady came over, and they all were saying, "How do you learn to play? Are you Polish?" They asked me, "Are you Polish?" "Well, no, but Arthur Rubinstein was a big hero of mine." "Oh." And what she said to me, she said, "You play those mazurkas like we Poles understand them. That's the way that they go." Now, I mean, I worked hard and I learned stuff, but I also paid a lot of attention to what Rubinstein does, and then more recently what Friedheim does, which is strikingly
different,
somewhat different, but there's still that rhythmic energy, and excitement and everything. But yeah, and I mean, if you play certain pieces of Liszt, like if you play Funerei of Liszt, these are the big bells, boom, 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 boom. And I think there is something in the music or something that makes reference to stuff, is there?
Oh, yeah.
Because that book is in the Poetic and Religious Harmonies, right?
Yep.
I don't know if there's any information. Like in the Aune de Pèlerinage, occasionally pieces are preceded by a poem which inspired it or something. Funerei is written about the great historic moment in Europe, all over Europe. 1848 to 1849. There were these revolutionary outbreaks all over the place. And I think the reason that none of them were victorious, they didn't have enough sense to bond with each other. That sense of nationalism was a little too strong. Germans wanted to be free, French wanted to be free, and they fought against the aristocracy. There was a war against the aristocracy and the nobility. Probably put to sleep for a while, but came out of the Napoleonic Wars earlier. Germany was famous for that. They had 1848 to 49, and this is why the Minnecorps are here in Columbus, because those guys were the ones that left Germany after the ordinary folks were defeated. They just said, "Screw this. We're going to go to America. We're here in America. You can think the way you want. You can talk the way you want. You can get a job. You can work. You can make a life for yourself. Screw Germany." But Funerei was specifically written for 2 reasons, or it honors 2 things. One is that Franz Liszt, what happened during that time is that there were Hungarian revolts against the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and a lot of the high-level officers, generals and such, were Hungarian aristocrats who wanted to free Hungary. And Liszt, of course, being Hungarian, was sympathetic to their movement.
Of course.
Well, long before the Nazis ever did this, the Austrians, to punish especially the Hungarian aristocrats who had dared to oppose the emperor, they could have shot them. That was the honorable thing to do for a high-level officer, or allowed him to shoot himself. No.
Listen to this part.
They hanged them, which in and of itself is a disgrace in military things. As I understand, you don't hang high officers. You actually give them a pistol, allow them to go into a room and blow their brains out, or whatever. Or you shoot them with a firing squad, because that's the honorable way to kill a heroic officer. They not only hang them, they hang them with wire, which means none of them choke to death right away. This stuff cuts into the flesh. And depending on how heavy they were, it could practically decapitate
Yeah.
Liszt was really upset. There's stuff where there were letters that he's written. He was angry and he was bereaved, you know. So the bells is expressing this sadness, but then you get to a kind of a combination thing. Chopin died in 49 when the wars were kind of winding down. It only lasted about a year and a half. But Chopin was a dear friend of Liszt's. And so Chopin is famous for his heroic ballades. Bum, 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 bum. You know, guys know this piano stuff, right? And Liszt, being Liszt, outdid Chopin. So he did, instead of 4/16, bum, 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 he did sextuplets. So he uses Chopin's configuration in a way, or draws on the idea. And Chopin in the Heroic Polonaise was remembering his own Polish fighters, the cavalry that was fighting. And for Liszt, this is the Hungarian cavalry that were charging, you know, and making a charge in a great battle. And of course, all hell breaks loose. And finally comes to this massive Lisztian, like, diminished chord. And then it comes back to this sad and profound, but now not ba-bum, ba-ba-bum.
Yeah, it's much more tragic here. Yeah.
You gotta know this stuff before you play Funerai.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't get that, because there were times sometimes when I had colleagues, certain students from certain parts of the world.
Yeah.
They just want to play some.
They just want to play the music. I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
now I've always looked at the lyrical section.
Yeah, and I always
looked at that as a eulogy or something.
As being when the spirits are going to heaven.
Oh, you did?
I thought that's what it was.
Okay.
And then it gets very excited, bigger and stuff. But there's a great deal of grief and sadness in that piece, and anger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Listen to those octaves.
And you have to know that in order to play the music like that. Now, I don't know that not all music is programmatic.
No, not all of it. But
certainly classical music in and of itself, like say classical music, was not. There's certain formulas and there's architecture and certain things.
Yeah.
But by the time you get to Beethoven, this is why he's on that dividing line between classical and romantic. 19th century, what is called romantic music, has a certain narrative or melodic or programmatic aspect to lots of it. I think it's interestingly, because it's not so much about a particular theme or something, but with Schumann, it's about characters. Very specifically, Carnival, for example, he gives them names.
Oh yeah.
That's probably the first one to kind of deal with personality in music. Brahms maybe is a little bit more classical eventually. I don't think of him as so programmatic. There's a few pieces like the G minor, Rhapsody.
Or the Edward Ballade.
Edward Ballade, yeah, because there's poetry with that one. But then also it helps if you study the correspondence of the composers.
Yes, absolutely.
And you find out if there is something with a certain piece, or maybe what was going on with the music when they composed it, if there's anything there. Because to play the notes, it's like if you don't know Italian and you use a digital dictionary to translate English to Italian, which honestly I do occasionally with Alessandro, because I wanted to really understand what I'm saying. I can kind of read Italian and know it in a way, I don't really speak it so much. But it's not fair, because it looks like, because that unfortunately encourages sometimes to respond in Italian a whole bunch when he talks to me.
Oh yeah.
So that could be dangerous. But you understand, there has to be, the more depth of understanding there is of what's in that page, on that page. You know, Chopin famously said about our notational system, this is what they give us to write down what's in here.
Yeah.
How did we do that? He was clearly looking at the problem of conveying more significant depth of understanding of the music and most likely even how to interpret it correctly.
Yeah.
Because as a teacher, he often taught his own music, and it's very interesting to hear what was it Potocka? One of his no, it was a Scottish girl. Took down lots of notes about with their piano lessons with her.
Oh, are we talking Jenny Lynn or
No, the Scottish. No. She's just an aristocratic Scottish girl. She took lessons with him, and she's the reason that he went to England. He accepted an invitation.
Oh,
because of her to come back, and he was in Scotland. And he was in England, London.
All right, I don't know that one.
But it's very interesting what he has to say about how to play his music. You know, and very clearly when you listen to really great interpreters like Friedman, there's an immense amount of stuff that comes across in the recording, which is not on the page.
Exactly.
But it's totally, it seems, totally legitimate.
Yeah. It sounds
almost necessary and very natural.
Very natural.
But it's not there.
Yeah.
You know? And if I know how to do some things in a kind of a Russian way or a Polish way like that, it's from having really paid attention, done a lot of reading.
Yeah. Some
cases had a teacher who really had their own experience with it and were able to pass that on to me. But I wouldn't at all ever say that I'm self-taught, but a lot of what I know is self-learned. I've studied it myself and appealed to it. And oftentimes, the compliments I get are about how moving the music is. And I don't think it's just me, like Salerno Sonnenberg, just doing that. It's informed on lots of levels from things that I've studied. And with music, it's one of the special fine arts because it happens in the moment. I'm not talking about recordings, but the performance in itself.
Yeah, it's inspired by the audience and the situation.
Everything that's happening is unique at that moment. And it's an opportunity for the artist to gauge the success of the communication by what they feel and see in the audience, and people come back and talk to you, say things
that they do.
So I got on the mic.
That's okay. Well,
you do your rants and
all right. Well, let's do.
I guess maybe you call it that kind of thing.
Nah, rant. So, folks, let's get on with the show. We had some segments here. Let's do. Okay, I want to start off with PSI at the movies.
Okay.
Welcome to PSI at the movies.
Everybody's behaving themselves.
I don't think so. But every time we do this, I do smell popcorn. I'm serious. I do. I mean, PSI at the movies. I do smell popcorn. Okay. Anyways, folks, we've introduced to you a lot of interesting movies, mostly musicians, pianists specifically. Today's a little different, and in honor of 4th of July, Independence Day, I decided to bring in something that's almost halfway related to it. Okay, I bring to you an old movie, not quite from the golden era, but it's nevertheless interesting. Famous actors, actresses, The Green Card.
Oh, that's a wonderful movie.
Yes.
I haven't seen that for a while.
This came out back in, holy moly,
80s.
I think it would be in the 80s, yeah.
Because
no year here.
Big Neuwirth is in that, Lilith from Frasier.
Yeah.
She's still pretty young.
Oh, yeah, she is. Andy McDowell and Gerard Depardieu.
This is a high time for him.
Yeah, so Green Card. If some of you visiting foreign students out there, you know what a green card is. Okay? Now, ironically, I do know what a green card is. I have seen green cards many times. And the funny thing is, they're not really green cards. They're actually blue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're white with blue lettering and blue border.
It would be interesting to learn why they call it green.
Green card, I would imagine that green card, they gave them the green light.
Green light.
So they're here legally. Now, on the other hand, if it's red,
Yeah, this is basically what we call, you can legally live and work in the United States indefinitely.
Yeah.
You
For a
do
long
not
time.
have to become, you don't have to become a citizen.
Nope.
But you then, the next step is you apply for citizenship.
Yes.
But the green card, typically, if you got all your ducks in a row and everything,
Yep.
usually 2 to 3 years to get approved, at least 2 usually.
Yeah.
You gotta stay in the country, and you have a certain work permit for a period of time, so you kind of feed yourself and live. But then once you get the green card, then you're pretty much free to take any job.
Yeah.
And you can live here. You can come and go as you want to.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is no necessarily encouragement to become a citizen. But if you do that, then many times that's another 3 to 5 years. You have to do some serious study and present all kinds of paperwork and all kinds of things. It's not simple. But that's not just here. No. I don't know what the specific laws are in all countries, but I know it's not easy to become a citizen all the time
it's not.
somewhere else.
No, my father came here first before the rest of my mother, myself, my brothers came here. Dad came here first on a student visa. He had finished medical school and he came here to do his internship. We were in Chicago.
Ooh.
So, yeah, that was quite an experience. And I still, even though I was 2, 3 years old and up and walking,
he brought all of you.
He brought all of us, and I can still remember being in that airplane and running into Americans for the first time.
Wow.
I had never, all right, folks, Philippines. If you've ever been to the Philippines, most of us don't go any higher than 5'3", 5'5". I am considered very tall for a Filipino. Okay, I'm 5'10". Okay, I am easily the tallest in my family, my immediate family and my extended family. Easily the tallest. So I hold the record. My mother even says I was taller than her father, and he was, and he was the reigning king in our family. My grandfather, because he was considered the tallest at the time. But she says I'm actually taller than he was. So, but anyways, Dad came here on a student visa. Okay, and he when we came here, we decided to go for citizenship. Mom and Dad had to sit up days and nights studying American history.
Oh my God.
American politics, executive, judicial,
people,
legislative.
It's incumbent on us as native-born Americans.
Yeah. When
you get those classes in American history, and especially to get the government course in high school and stuff like that, you should really take that seriously.
Take it very seriously.
Because these foreign people that have to study to win citizenship, they know so much more about our country.
Oh, absolutely.
Than you probably do.
Yeah.
I was quite a student of history, always have been. I was really fascinated with it, but people take all it for granted. And there used to be who was the guy, Jay Leno, who ran the Tonight Show? Remember Jay Leno with the Tonight Show? Yeah. And he used to do the interviews out on the streets in Los Angeles.
Oh, Man in the Street?
Man in the Street. And they ask questions about historical American facts.
Yeah.
Like presidents or wars that we were in, various things like that. Yeah. And his whole point was to show that, sadly, he's just picking anybody out. And a lot of the time younger folks, probably younger than their 40s, or 40s or younger. Yeah. Not the old, because the old ones are going to know. Yeah. Right? But the younger ones, they didn't know jack shit about America. Our history. Oh. People. Like, do you know who Eisenhower was? No. Kennedy? Well, I've heard of it. Come on, people!
Where's the capital of the United States? Yeah. Or the state,
And the real big shocker sometimes, can you imagine there are people who don't know who Richard Nixon was? Yeah. And what that all meant back in 1974. So these people, I applaud their courage, and we're talking about green card, which is different. Yeah. Citizenship is you have every right to be proud of. It's like I feel about getting a doctorate. Yeah. When you look at the entire world population, there's what, 350 million Americans, maybe? Shouldn't even use that word, U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
Which is what, going on 9 billion people now?
Yeah.
So it's half of 1/9. I don't even know what that means. 1/9 is, I don't know, it's like 0.45% of the world's population are U.S. citizens. And having traveled in a lot of places and everything, they're, no offense to all the people I know in various places, such, but I learned to, now there's a lot of things to be embarrassed about with our country at various times.
Oh, yeah.
We did not achieve nationhood without a lot of blood and repression.
Yeah.
This is often the case, sadly, but there are times when I was really happy to have a U.S. passport and that I came from not so much what we are, but what we can be.
Yeah.
What the ideas and everything that are behind what it means to be. The truly patriotic stuff that people really take to heart, that they abuse us with when the people in the know are manipulating us to achieve very selfish kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
That's that's human nature.
Yeah, and you young people, if you're younger than I'm going to venture to say 15 or 16 years old and younger, please understand what we're celebrating on the 4th of July. I was so surprised at some of those man on the street segments and some of these shows where they ask these kids, you know, what are we celebrating on the 4th of July? And they didn't know. They didn't know. Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, this is a bit of sidetrack. Green Card.
A fabulous movie.
Fabulous
really.
movie. It's very 80-ish.
Yeah. I'd seen it for a while, but I still remember scenes from this movie. Yes.
The most unforgettable scene was where you got to see Gerard Depardieu play the piano at the party. Oh, I don't want to give too much away, but it's the most unforgettable scene. You have to see it. Now, for some reason or another, you know, even though the way he played was rather unidiomatic, it was very convincing to watch.
Well, he passes himself like, what job is he going to have, or what is he going to be?
Yeah.
That can convince people that he's kind of legitimate.
Yeah.
So he's a composer.
He's a composer.
He's a composer, and he's, you know, Depardieu's a big guy. He's like 6'4",
very big guy.
and as he's gotten older, he's big. But he had some powerful, huge Frenchmen with big old nose.
Big frame.
So he goes into this like New York socialite kind of parlor and sits down at the Steinway with all these fancy ladies around and starts beating the shit out of the piano, doing all this kind of stuff on it. It could be 20th century.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
You know, it could be. And he does it in a way that it honestly is pretty impressive.
It was.
It's not a melodic kind of thing.
Oh, it's not a melodic.
Not Barber.
Not yet.
It's more crashy than that.
Yeah.
But at first, of course, when he starts, there's some really big sounds.
Oh, yeah, some very big sounds.
But then he does it long enough and effectively enough that the ladies are just overwhelmed by the passion and the emotion.
That one lady on the couch is smiling.
Yeah. They stand up and they applaud and they all love him and everything. It's funny because McDowell is worried that he's going to blow it at times.
Oh,
you know?
McDowell.
And he always has this insanely successful little moments where he pulls the shit off.
Yeah, he's sitting there, folks. You should see the whole room because he sits there quietly for the really longest time. He sits there like this.
Preparation.
You know, and then boom, it's off to the horses, and you see everybody in that room go, "Oh, I gotta jump up!" And so he's going like a mad thing, you know, for about 2 minutes or something.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole time he's holding down the piano pedal the whole time.
Yeah.
And then the sound is still reverberating.
Yeah.
And then to end the piece, he goes up to the very highest key in the piano and goes, he hits it. Because everybody thought, oh, thank God it's over. Until they hear, bing! They still jump at that. They still jump.
Do you think he practiced that?
Oh, I'm sure he did. He had to.
I mean, Depardieu had to.
He had to be able to get that.
Work at it.
Yeah.
I don't get the impression that he tried to demonstrate that he could play the piano at all.
No, not at all.
But I think
he characterized probably what he saw at like piano.
And of course he's got,
the hair
almost below the ears and stuff.
Yeah.
So the hair is going.
Yeah.
So he's totally passing himself off as this, probably leftist, bohemian, French contemporary composer.
Oh yeah, he could have. Now, mind you, should we tell him what happens after the performance?
Well, I wouldn't go through to the whole end because.
No, well, not to the end, but the actual performance. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what happens in the performance. Spoiler, okay, alert. I'm going to tell you what happens after he finishes off that segment with like that. Yeah. All right? He's still sitting at the piano, okay? And he whispers to the other pianist that just finished playing. And she says to her, Madame, would you please translate for me? And she said, what? And so he starts playing, and I definitely wasn't him, okay, but it could be.
Yeah, he's
because the playing itself,
something lovely.
It's actually something that was very basic.
Yeah.
On the left hand, root position chords this way. Yeah. He's doing something on the right hand.
A kind of nice melody.
Yeah, and so he starts reciting this poem in French, and it's quite moving. If you ever get a chance to watch this scene. You can see it on YouTube, actually. If you just type in Gerard Depardieu piano scene.
Yeah. And
that's it. And so, anyways, it's a lovely scene. And by the time you get to the end of that recitation of the poem, nobody's speaking. Everyone is totally...
Yeah. Was it a real poem or did he make it up?
That's a good question. In the movie... I think it was more or less, something he was inspired by thoughts that he wanted to let out. What else do you do at a concert?
There's a way of interpreting his performance or his character. Yeah. He's kind of just a big bullshitter. Yeah. But there are actually many moments when I think he's just a guy who likes to enjoy life and have fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And takes things with a certain amount of liberty, freely, but he's a very sensitive and sincere person when it comes down to things. You see that in the portrayal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's a wonderful film. It's a tearjerker.
Oh, it's a tearjerker. It's a romantic comedy, folks.
But, well, that's good to be reminded of that. By the way, I'll tell you you'll see it on the show.
Okay.
When I was talking about how Shimonosky creates all this magic.
Yeah.
We're like Mickey, with the wizard.
Yeah,
the wizard.
Yeah, Sorcerer Apprentice.
And I was talking about this film that gave me the same impression. The writer, C.S. Lewis, who wrote the books. The movie was called Shadowlands.
Oh, Shadowlands!
Now, I discovered that there was a 1968 version. Because I saw some movie covers.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
That's not Deborah Winger.
Yeah.
Turns out the Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger was a remake in 85 or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Of a 1968 original.
I did not know that.
But the one I was talking about was the one with Hopkins.
Okay.
And I've got some pictures up there and everything.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that movie, that's another one I just recommend in passing, but only because we haven't got the show up yet. It's processing right now.
Yeah.
It's called Shadowlands.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is a very funny film.
That's
it is a very funny film. And both of these, Gerard Depardieu and Andy McDowell, both have very illustrious careers. I love them both. As a matter of fact, Gerard Depardieu, it's not the first time he's played a musician. He's done that movie, the one about the baritone player in the...
Oh, yes.
What's that called? Worlds Apart or something?
I know. He's playing...
he plays a composer now.
Yeah, Jean Marais.
Or Jean Marais?
Yeah, he was a famous 17th century viol player for the king.
Yeah.
And isn't the movie Something to the King or Something for the King?
Something like that.
I'll look it up real quick.
Okay.
Talk to him.
All right. Anyways, yeah, he's had quite the illustrious career. I remember watching him for the first time. He was I think his debut was made on a what do you call it? Fantasy adventure film. He actually played a Cyclops. He very well could be. I mean, he's got a very big frame. He played a Cyclops. That movie I think was called Krull. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Krull.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was filled with virtual unknowns who would soon later become national, iconic actors, actresses from that movie. Another movie he made, which is sort of a fantasy comedy film, Bogus. Remember Bogus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played sort of like this imaginary friend come to life for this little boy. Whoopi Goldberg was a co-star in that movie. That was a very good movie. And since then, I don't know what else he's done. I would imagine that he still was making those French foreign films somewhere along the way. Did you find it?
Tous les matins du monde.
That's the one.
All right.
Tell them.
Means all the mornings of the world. Tous les matins du monde. Magnificent. Here's a decent picture. We'll show that on the camera.
Okay.
Where he plays Jean Marais, who is the king's gamba player, and they formed a gamba ensemble. And the really wonderful thing about this film is Jordi Savall, a Spanish player, and his people, family members play everything. Their whole ensemble is the ones that do the music.
Wow.
And it's wonderful music. There's something really lovely about French 17th century music.
Oh, yeah.
It's very influenced by the court and everything, but there's something somewhat militant, courtly, but there's warmth in the instrument. They don't project as powerfully as a cello could, especially with steel strings. Whereas all the instruments back then had gut strings. They're made from catgut, I think. It's a beautiful instrument. It's 6 strings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're different sizes. Basically, they're the predecessors for violins, violas, and cellos and all that. They were all called viols. And there were little ones and there were bigger ones.
Yeah.
Bigger ones. Everything up to practically the size of a contrabass. Not quite that big. But the one that they played was played like a cello. You sat and played it, but you hold it in your legs.
Yeah.
That way. There's no in pin. Beautiful music, beautiful movies. Another movie that he did was The Return of Martin Guerre. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
You don't know the movie? Oh, it's a true story. Back in the medieval period, after some lengthy war.
So would it be Martin?
Martin Guerre. Guerre. No, G. Guerre.
Guerre.
No, it must be Geure. Sorry. But it's a true story. We know because of the church records. 1400s or 1500s, I think. Some war that people are involved in. Martin Guerre, from his village, goes off. And back in those days, there was the 30 Years' War and there was the 100 Years' War. These guys sometimes would go and disappear for years. And then they'd either just slog their way back home, or sometimes they were forgiven and came back home. Sometimes they'd never be seen again. Well, this Martin Guerre leaves. He's a skinny, kind of somewhat snitty guy. He's married, doesn't treat his wife well. Let's put it this way, he probably doesn't have a lot of great self-esteem and a lot of sense of self-worth. And he's kind of like a dog, slightly wounded, bitchy about it. And people in he's a man in that period of time, so he has his family, I don't know if he's got any kids, but the wife for sure. And he goes off to war. And then several years later, could have been at least 8 years, at least, he returns to the village.
Wow.
He's grown, because he was a young man. He was like 1718 when he left.
Yeah.
Now he's in his later 20s. And he's grown. He's a lot taller, big, broader, powerful. And everybody thinks he knows everything about the village. He knows the people when he comes walking into the village.
Yeah.
And, hey, he knows the ironsmith and he knows these different people and all that. And he recognizes his wife and everything. They don't recognize it because this guy has like been gone for almost a decade. And he went from being kind of an older teenage boy to a man. And it seems like life out there in the world and in the war and everything just matured him in the most wonderful ways because now he's got a good sense of humor. He's just, he left as kind of this pipsqueak that people weren't really fond of.
Yeah.
And he becomes, now coming back, the life of the party and the life of the village. You know?
Wow.
A leader and a great person, all this kind of thing.
Huh.
And his wife loves him. And she loves the fact that he must have learned some techniques.
Oh, gosh!
He's a lot better than she remembers from earlier on.
Oh, boy.
And the movie, what happens, is a true story. The real Martin Guerre returns to the village.
Oh.
Now, they'd made an agreement. They'd known each other and fought together in the war.
Yeah.
He told him all about his village and everything, and Martin Guerre learned all this stuff. He had no family. He had nowhere to go. He wanted to be part of the community and all that. So he gave him money. But this guy is a through and through piece of shit. And he comes back, and he says, I'm a real Martin Guerre, and I can prove it, this and that. And the church and the whole community, they have to do something about it. This is like 16th or 15th century
yes.
French Catholic culture, medieval culture. There's been some serious breaking of the rules, church stuff, right?
Yeah.
And people knowing about it, or not knowing that he wasn't Guerre, but everybody participating in these lies and all this dark, devilish, terrible stuff. So there's a church trial, and they determined that he's a faker. And he has it going almost to the very end, but then he says something to the real Martin Guerre, which breaks character and says, but you said that, and then everybody hears that. And all of a sudden, then he hears what he just said. And he kept up a perfectly good lie, which looked like he was going to win.
Yeah.
His wife wanted him to win. And unfortunately, he makes a little blunder there. That's enough. And that's what sinks him.
Wow. This is a true story.
I forget if they hang him or they burn him at the stake. Not sure which.
Gosh.
But it's based on true historic records of the church in France. It's called The Return of Martin Guerre. It is a fabulous movie. As most anything that Depardieu did at that time.
Wow.
He deserved to be a rock star. I mean, he was really good.
Wow.
And it's in French. You have to watch it with subtitles.
Right.
But it is a thoroughly wonderful film. And the private scenes, let's put it this way, the film's made in France.
Oh, gosh. He's also played Cyrano de Bergerac.
That's right.
As well.
Probably didn't even need to use the makeup.
Oh, God. Oh, he did.
He's got a big old French nose. Yeah.
So anyways, this ends the segment of PSI at the movies.
Okay.
And we will now...
That was fun.
Oh, yeah, it was fun. So we'll move on to the newer segment. PSI. High Plains Thrifter?
I played Thrifter.
High Plains Thrifter. Welcome to PSI, High Plains Thrifter.
This is our 4th of July special.
Yes, and this is why we call it High Plains Thrifter, because I'm either digging out in the archives or we,
Can I show
go to
you
the
super
Thrifter. Oh, sure.
It's just real
absolutely.
quick. Because they've seen this stuff already.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Oh.
Do you already take it up to them?
I did the last time.
Okay.
But we can
So
do it
I bought
again.
it and shown that too.
Okay.
These are two things that Elmer brought in the past, and I was so impressed with them. I looked them up and I found my own copies.
Yeah.
So that's the Szymanowski's book by the New Jersey publisher Paganiniana.
Yes.
And I discovered I have one or two of their books anyway. The book by Adele Marcus,
Uh-huh.
that I have over on the shelves, Great Pianists Speak. The collected stories, and Adele Marcus is the editor and writer.
Mhm.
She studied with the Levines. That's a Paganiniana book.
Yep.
And then this is that really cool compilation disc from Italy, I think, where there's these works of Franz Liszt by the most
Illustrious group of pianists.
pianists, and at least one or two of them you just wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
Like, who is it?
Michelangelo
Yeah.
playing Totentans. Yes. And what was the other one? Brendel playing Malediction. Concerto. That's a new one for me.
Rouse playing the A major concerto.
Yeah.
The Totentans is Benedetti Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Solomon, the British pianist,
He's
plays Hungarian Fantasy.
Oh yeah.
And then the Malediction is played by Alfred Brendel.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing this because
Oh, it's a beautiful CD.
I mean, I think I've got an album or something.
Yeah.
A Rao, maybe even CD compilation.
Yeah.
Of him playing Liszt concerto.
Oh yeah. He's played them both.
And he played some wonderful Liszt. I love I guess performance too of the second ballad and stuff.
Yeah.
But these are older recordings too.
Yeah.
And as I've said, like my favorite recording of the Totentans. It'll be interesting to see how Michelangelo does with it, but Brendel's performance from back in the 50s
Oh yeah.
still
Impeccable.
just blows me away. It is fabulous. Exciting. Well, what'd you bring?
Okay, so this is what we found at the thrift store.
This is
Kathy
recent?
and I. Oh, this is recent. This
Oh,
one here.
wow.
These are recent. I actually picked up a cassette tape. I couldn't pass this up. It is Solomon playing Beethoven's Appassionata, Moonlight, and the Pathetique Sonata.
Now, is Solomon the guy who had the stroke on stage? His name, it seems to me, is connected with a pianist who made his debut because there was a pianist who died at the beginning of the Greek Piano Concerto.
That was
This guy came out of the
Barrere.
wings. He's the one that took over.
Who?
Simon Barrere.
I heard he died during the.
He's the one that died.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but somebody who became well known.
Yeah.
He was a younger guy. He's a student as such, but finished basically, but not much of a career yet.
Yeah.
And the pianist collapsed at the very beginning of the Greek, and everybody's in turmoil and everything. This guy goes down to the wings and says, "I know this concerto. I can play this concerto." And so to save the night, they push him out there. They've taken the dead guy away.
Yeah.
Listen, show must go on, kind of thing. The guy sits down. Bum, 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 and he plays the Greek concerto. I have to look that up and see.
Yeah, you'll have to look it up. Let me know.
For some reason, there's something about Solomon. I thought, or maybe I'm mixing up him and Simon Barrere.
Yeah,
Because one of them died of aneurysm, like a stroke.
Okay.
I don't remember who it
Well,
was.
I distinctly remember Barrere dying.
And Simon Barrere, was he Russian, actually?
He was Russian.
So Solomon's English.
Well,
we'll look this up,
Yeah.
and I'll throw some stuff up on the screen about it.
Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. This is a Gottschalk piano CD, Volume 1, performed by one Philip Martin, who he sometimes does two piano works with Peter Donahoe as well as the other guy. Yeah.
So he's a British guy playing
So this is a British guy. This is Volume 1, I think. Yeah, made in England.
You listen
This
to
is
it?
a Hyperion CD. Yes, I've listened to the CD many
Very
times.
well.
Oh yeah, he plays very well. Gottschalk is one of those American composers. He was probably the first American concert pianist to achieve world fame.
And especially for playing his compositions.
Oh yeah.
Because basically that's kind of what people did back in the time.
Oh, yeah.
1830s, right?
I'm
So I
sorry.
went over there, 1830s to Europe.
1830s.
Because Chopin was still alive, and there's even Chopin makes remarks about Gottschalk.
He didn't. He
Oh,
didn't
did
go. He didn't get to.
Am I wrong? Maybe it was less.
He was born in 1829.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it's not.
1829. So he would have been maybe in the 40s,
Maybe
perhaps.
it was a 40, but I don't know if Chopin was still alive.
Oh, he was still alive.
49, but it might have been Liszt that talked about it. But he made a huge splash
He
on,
did.
especially the Parisian audiences.
Yes. More about him a little bit later.
And he
but
would have spoken French because he's from
he's from Louisiana.
Nolens, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So on this CD, Volume 1, which means there's more. The tracks here: Le Banjo, the Grotesque Fantasia,
Yeah.
the La Mancenillier. Here, you do it. It's all French. The freaking French.
Well, the banjo.
Okay.
I don't know. Le Monsonnier. It's a serenade. Minuit. Minuit à Seville is a minuet in the style of Seville, so it's that kind of thing. Un chanson de guitarra, mazurka. I don't know most of these pieces. Souvenir of Puerto Rico. Souvenir of Havana. La Danza, Sixième Ballade, the Sixth Ballad. Colombia, a Caprice Americain.
Mm-hmm.
Les Yeux Créoles, which means Creole eyes, Danse Cubaine, and La Bananier, Chanson Negre. La Bananier is the guy that harvests the bananas. Oh, and Union, the Paraphrase de Concert. So it's interesting that I wonder if he was Creole.
Who?
Gottschalk?
Gottschalk. Well, like I said, more about him later. Gottschalk was from, like you said, he wasn't born in New Orleans. He was actually born in one of the more tropical areas, either Jamaica or or Puerto Rico or something like that.
Well, it's interesting because he's got pieces which are influenced by Puerto Rico and Cuba, which would suggest he probably was there.
Yeah, but his life was interesting, a lot more than you'd think. They should make, this is another composer they should have made a movie about. But anyways, he got to well, like I said, I don't want to give too much away because we're going to be talking about him later. But anyways,
we'll put a picture of him.
Yeah, he was very dashing.
But I'd like to hear something about it. I've played actually a few times. I played the banjo. Yeah. And I played the Union. Which is
yeah.
That's the banjo. That's the banjo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very repetitive.
It's fun. It's repetitive, which makes it a challenge to play for that very reason. It's not a deeply profound.
No,
and actually, the music that I've looked at myself, not deeply profound music.
No, it isn't.
It's entertaining, and I imagine, in a way, it's also what led to its success.
Oh yeah,
because it's charming to the audience at the time. It would have been very exotic.
Oh yeah, very.
Because it's in America, which is still a relatively unknown place, and if he was on the islands, I mean, at that time, the 1840s, the Europeans were beginning to do world colonization stuff. I mean, the Brits had already been out, of course, centuries before the Spaniards in the South, and Portuguese in Asia and things. But the real colonization stuff didn't begin to really have an effect back home until probably at the earliest mid-19th century.
Yeah.
So this guy is major exotic.
Oh yeah.
And I'm curious to hear what else you have to say about it, because he's kind of a bit of a footnote in our professional musical studies. In school, right?
Yeah, basically he was.
I mean, we
hardly even touched him.
He was kind of important because he was probably, as you said, the first one to get any international recognition.
Oh yeah.
Big time, actually.
Yeah, before Gershwin.
Way
before Gershwin.
Cool.
So, but anyways, like I said, more about him later.
Okay.
Do you have any CDs or Gottschalk?
Not so much.
Not so much?
Yeah.
Would you like one?
Seriously?
Yeah.
You have more than one copy?
More than you think.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Because I don't know this music. I mean, I know the banjo and the ukulele.
Well, okay, I'll give you the history on this a little bit. The recording history, one of the earliest pioneers. You're very welcome, buddy.
Thank you.
Probably the one pianist that's mostly renowned for playing Gottschalk is the American pianist Eugene Liszt.
Yeah.
Eugene Liszt. He's covered quite a bit of his work. Another one is, well, my first introduction to Gottschalk was listening to Leonard Pennario play the banjo, and he came to Findlay, Ohio.
I have a recording copy of it.
You might have it. You might have it. As a matter of fact, he's recorded maybe a dozen or so Gottschalk.
I don't have it.
In his history. But yeah, he came to Findlay, Ohio. I think I was in my sophomore, junior year in high school, and he came to Findlay, Ohio, and some of my friends found out about it and asked me if I wanted to go. And so, sure, I'd love to go. So I went and bought tickets, bought my ticket, got to see him play the banjo.
It was solo?
It was a solo recital. He played, he started with the Sweet Bergamots by Debussy, and then he played Schumann's First Sonata, F sharp minor, and then there was an intermission, and then
Whose first sonata?
Schumann's.
Schumann, the F sharp minor.
The F sharp minor.
Huh.
And then there was an intermission, and then he played, A White Peacock by Griffiths,
Wow.
and he played the banjo, and then he closed the recital with Ravel's La Valse.
Jeez.
Yeah, so after that, it was encores. He played To a Wild Rose by MacDowell, and he played his original work, Midnight on the Cliffs. It's a work that he did for the movie Julie, starring Doris Day.
Was he kind of, because you knew Earl Wilde playing and stuff here at clubs, was he kind of like an Earl Wilde kind of pianist? I mean, I've got some recordings of his. And before you answer, I'm beginning to reflect back in there. There's certain things that are farther back in the memory.
Yeah.
I, at one point, when I still had just like a little record player kind of thing, bigger one with a decent speaker on it, one of my favorite two of them, actually, was two LPs that I still have.
Yeah.
And are playing the second and the third piano concertos of Rachmaninoff.
Yeah. He's also done the Rhapsody.
I think I was encouraged to buy this because I would have found them in Camelot Music.
Yeah.
Because I think he played with the Springfield Symphony.
I would not be surprised.
Because I wondered, why did he go to Findlay, Ohio? Well, he probably got an invitation to play in Findlay because he was either up in the Cleveland area or in the Columbus or the Cincinnati area or something. And go and make another $1,000 or $5,000.
Well, he was nearing the end of his career.
Really?
Because this would have been like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
He was nearing the end, and it's interesting because in an interview, he said that after he retires from the concert stage, his lifelong ambition was to become a professional bridge player.
Bridge? Cards?
Bridge, cards.
Wow.
And so he wanted to play bridge. And so he went back to California and competed in the bridge competitions and stuff. I don't know how he did.
Wow.
So, I mean, after he retired, he was never heard from again. Just played bridge.
So tell me what you think about him as a pianist. Now, come on, Earl Wilde is often thought of as our truly American-born Horowitz.
Oh, he is
in terms of what he could do.
Absolutely.
But Pennario could really do some great stuff.
Oh,
I love his interpretations of the third piano concerto.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody that can play the third piano concerto,
he does the Osias.
It's worth their grain of salt.
All of the Osias.
Well, he was a big boy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking, if you've seen the originals, if you've seen the score to that, and those double notes on the left hand where most pianists just play the single note runs, he does them in double notes. Wow. It's amazing. He's an amazing mechanism. Now, what do I think about Leonard Pennario? Well, as some of you, if you've been paying attention to our show here, I remember telling you in previous episodes that he was the first record album I ever got as far as listening to classical piano. It was the first one. On it, it had his usual war horses, the Heroic Polonaise, Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. It had To a Wild Rose, To a Water Lily. It had, let's see, it also had the Schultz-Evler Blue Danube on it. Probably some other things as well. I don't remember the whole thing. But my biggest kick was watching him play that Midnight on the Cliffs live on that stage. That work, he actually he got to perform that work at Horowitz's place. He was a younger man. At his house.
Is this like a Ravel-like composition?
No, well, it has some impressionistic qualities to it, but much more brilliant.
The title, it sounds.
But it's much more. It has more in common with Rocha. The Spellbound Concerto.
Moonlight on the Cliffs.
Midnight on the Cliffs, and you could see You could see on YouTube. There's performances of it. Done by pianists who tried to play it by ear, but they didn't get all the notes. But now they found a score. They found the score, and so now you could listen. You could see the score and see what it looks like, and it's just plastered with notes. But Horowitz's first reaction to him playing that work, he says to young Leonard Pennario, he says to him, "Why do you play such a difficult piece?" But that's his spiel. I mean, when he wants to really let out all the fireworks, he's done piano arrangements of things like Nino Rota's theme from Romeo and Juliet, the movie, and it's just plastered with runs and stuff. That and the theme from Midnight Cowboy with John Voight and what's his name? Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, he's done that and countless other things. He's also composed solo piano works. One of the more memorable ones, I think, was March of the Lunatics, which has sort of a Prokofiev-Poulenc quality to it. So, but anyways, what do I think of him as a pianist? I loved him as a kid. I think I might.
He was one of your heroes.
Yeah, mostly because he's done more. He's done more commercially with piano than anybody I know. He's done. I mean, all right. The average traveling concert pianist, competition winners, they would travel each year with what? Maybe 3 or 4 concertos, perhaps, right? And maybe 3 programs, different programs,
right?
Repertoire. This guy has all of the concertos in his head. Whenever they want, I mean, he sort of has if you Joe Wank picked up from somebody, it's definitely him. Because anytime somebody needed a Tchaikovsky, he was there. If they needed a Brahms, he was there. If they needed Rachmaninoff, he was there. If they needed Beethoven, he was over there. So this guy had a huge repertoire, large repertoire, and I'll tell you what, if this doesn't raise eyebrows. Whenever Rubinstein was not available, Paderewski and Heifetz asked him to play with him and travel.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah,
he played with the $1 Million Trio.
Oh yeah, he was
Pennario.
He was their choice if Rubinstein was not available.
Are there any extant recordings or anything on YouTube with them together?
I don't know. I haven't looked, but that would be interesting to see. We could look it up.
I'm thinking a cool thing for us to do, which take us back in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
And might be informative.
Yeah.
Because I'm 62.
Yeah.
You're 3 years younger than me.
You
haven't hit the 60 yet, right?
Well, I'll be 60 in November.
You will?
November.
Wow. So you were born in November of 64?
64.
Okay. I thought you were 65. I was just thinking as you were talking about this, because we talked about this before, and I featured, we talked briefly in the last show, which will be up by the time, before this one gets up. Camelot Music.
Yeah.
Camelot Music was for him and family and me in Springfield.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was it.
There's no Tower Records out here.
Nope.
Nothing like that. There's a place, I think Reich's department store had like a record store in it, kind of thing. It was a real fancy department store at the time. really comparable to Von Mar, like what you do now.
Yeah.
Reichs was like that.
Yeah.
But, and there have been some little places in Springfield, but when Camelot Music moved into the Springfield Mall, that was the place to go for recordings, whatever it was. And there was a decent section for classical stuff. What we got. But I was thinking it'd be really interesting for us to do before the Angel and the Seraphim stuff showed up,
Yeah.
and before the Deutsche Grammophon stuff showed up, or before I was able to start getting mail order things,
Yep.
which is how I discovered Brindle.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who was more fundamentally European-based was not in the bins at Camelot Music to start with.
No.
I mean, we had Rubinstein at Horowitz. I mean, that's just some of the big ones. But it'll be interesting that besides the big boys, if let's not say it right now, but think about the pianists like Rathman,
Yes.
people like that.
Yeah.
Will speak louder. I purposely not speaking that loud. But this, think about the American piano or the pianists whose recordings we had access to before the European stuff started to show up, because it was a decidedly in our society as it is.
Oh, I could give you a whole list.
Post World War II and stuff like that, but it was American-driven economy with people who were artists in the United States who were important to the production industries, which was able to make money for them.
Yes.
So, I mean, you go back to probably Van Cliburn winning the Tchaikovsky, and then thereafter, there were a host of pianists. Some of these guys remained like big artist performers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them became professors.
Yeah.
Davis ended up in Florida.
And then wound up in Florida.
But I think it would be cool if we did a part of the show. You let me do it.
Okay.
We'll just reflect on who we remember from that period of time.
Exactly.
Because they're part of that icebergy thing where some of them are still alive.
Oh, yeah.
But some of them are not playing anymore, it seems, or you don't hear about them. And they're in danger of slipping down under the water. And somewhere, let's say they deserve to be somewhere just under the water, midway on that iceberg, below the water, you know. But you and I are old enough we could remember this.
Oh, yeah, we could. I mean, going to Camelot and going to the library.
Library.
You know, who's... Oh, gosh. But anyways, Gottschalk.
Yeah.
So, Pennario was my first introduction to Gottschalk, the banjo. Mm-hmm. And since then, there have been others. Ivan Davis has a whole CD of Gottschalk. Ivan Davis and Eugene List.
Yeah, I remember him too.
To be...
Was Eugene List, I think it's about... Ruth Laredo's husband was not Eugene List.
No, it wasn't Eugene List. It was...
Estoman. Wasn't it?
Eugene Estoman. I think you might be right.
Wasn't she married? No. She was married to a violinist. Was his name Laredo? And he played in the trio.
Jamie Laredo.
Didn't he play in the trio with Estoman?
Yes.
So it wasn't Eugene List. Eugene List wasn't famous for chamber music.
No, he wasn't. He was
more solos.
You want to know what he's famous for? He is the American pianist who was responsible for the most number of performances of the Shostakovich Piano Concerto No. 1.
Really?
He holds the record for playing that work the most number of times.
Really?
And to this day, that record has not been broken.
Wow.
He's done it countless number of times.
That's actually sometimes a very popular kind of a lighter weight thing that's inserted in orchestra programs. The Shostakovich First Piano Concerto.
I don't know. Have you seen the score to that?
No, I know. But, I mean, in terms of the musical profundity, it's not like the Prokofiev Second.
No.
Or even the third in terms of its wonderful, vibrant virtuosity.
There's a third?
Yeah, the third Concerto Prokofiev.
Oh, no, I'm talking Shostakovich.
No, Shostakovich.
Yeah.
No, I meant by second, I meant the Prokofiev G minor.
Oh, Prokofiev. Okay, well, there you have it.
I mean, that's. But I'm thinking in terms, as I understand, the Shostakovich. What's great about it is it's not a complex orchestral.
No,
score.
it's strings and a trumpet.
Yeah,
That's it.
Right. So it's a little easier to pull off, and because of the nature of it being a smaller, almost like chamber work, I see it as actually, surprisingly, I would say lots, but kind of relatively here and there, you see performance of it.
Oh, from
with
time to
the
time.
symphony programs.
Yeah, it's also on the concerto list at the Van Cliburn competition.
Yeah.
So that is on there. So.
And sometimes the ones who are playing it are people you've not heard of, or like they're younger pianists
Oh yeah.
who are playing it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a good one to expose yourself.
Yeah, that is a lesser known one. That is a much lesser known one.
Yeah.
But anyways, so while we're still on High Plains Thrifter, I found this very, very unique CD released by a company called MMC Recordings. Don't know what MM stands for, but it is, let's see, MMC New Century Volume 3, and it is concertos by these unknown composers. Let me know if you've heard of them, okay? Piano Symphony by Romeo Melloni, Melloni.
How old is this CD?
This CD was copyrighted 1995.
Oh, then I don't know, because MMC in Latin numbers means 2,100.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Think it's
No, but I mean, if that's possibly what it comes from, it doesn't stand for me.
yeah.
Maybe they're thinking instead of 20th century, looking towards the 21st century. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because one M is 1,000.
Yeah.
2 is 2,000, and a C is
C.
for 100, so it means 2,100. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the inspiration for it. They're looking for
Perhaps.
music of the future kind of thing.
Okay. Well, anyways, moving on. A concerto for piano and orchestra by Daniel Perlongo.
No.
And here is another one, a piano concerto, and in quotations, mosaics by composer Walter Ross. Now, I just got the CD just a few days ago, on Tuesday to be exact, and I haven't stopped listening.
Well, this is birthday shopping.
Yes, this was birthday shopping, but I found something for myself here.
Uh-huh.
And Kathy, I looked at Kathy when I saw it, and she says, "Go ahead and get it, honey." So I went ahead and picked it up, and well, it was only 99 cents. So I did pick it up, and I have, like I said, I've been listening to it since Tuesday for 2 days, and I haven't stopped listening to it. The orchestra is a Slovak Radio Symphony Orchestra, and there are 2 conductors. One is Robert Black, and the other one is Robert Stankowski.
Huh.
Now, the Piano Symphony by Romeo Melloni is performed by pianist Francis Burnett. The Concerto for Piano and Orchestra. Oh, there's years on these. Let's see, the Piano Symphony was composed in 1992, and Daniel Perlongo's Concerto for Piano and Orchestra, also 1992, was performed by one Donna Coleman. Walter Ross's Piano Concerto, Mosaics, was composed in 1991 and is performed by pianist Marjorie Mitchell. So, anyways, these, as contemporary and advanced as they sound, they're very well done. They're very well done. I mean, they're musically, they are pieces of our time, really. I mean, there's some jazz influences without being directly jazz. Some of it even sounds, has sort of a primitive percussive quality to them. But on the other hand, there are moments where they return to common practice counterpoint. So you'll hear things like cannons and fugues in here. So, anyways, quite a recording. So I was quite pleased when I picked it up. I'm still listening to it wonderful CD. I hope I could find some more of them, you know, in the future. This one, like I said, this was volume 3, so definitely there is a volume 1 and a volume 2 somewhere floating about. Maybe I'll run into it one of these days. But yeah, it definitely earns my thumbs up. But anyways, this portion of PSI, what was it, High Plains Thrifter?
Yeah. It's over?
This is the ending.
Okay.
So anyways, which brings us to the next part. Our featured composer, PSI.
Cool. Okay.
And that featured composer is what we were just talking about, Louis Moreau Gottschalk.
Hey!
Here we go. Are you ready for this, folks? This is going to be interesting. Now, years ago, when I first wanted to study some Gottschalk, this was the book that I picked up. I found this over at Stanton's. I paid full price for this thing. It's quite a, I mean, it was the only book that was available at the time. I picked this up maybe a couple decades ago.
Wow.
So I'm thinking maybe, well, actually, I think I may have been in my 30s when I picked this up. Have you ever seen this one?
I've not seen that
I've
one.
not seen this one. Well,
I'm thinking so when did you get it?
like I said, I was
80s,
about
90s?
30. I'm going to guess maybe, let me see, I graduated in 86, so it would have been around 1990s.
When was it published?
This was published in 1956.
56?
1956.
The original book?
That's what this is. The
Yeah.
1956 copyright Theodore Presser Company.
Yeah, Theodore
Bryn Mawr,
Yeah,
Pennsylvania. Yeah, so this is what it is.
I have a
But,
Mozart volume of Theodore Presser's.
Yeah, so do I.
Interesting historic collection. No, I was just thinking that I imagine, especially in the 70s, 76, was our 200th anniversary, national anniversary, that some of his music might, because we talk about some of the pianists who played his stuff, might have come out at that time because it's like big American celebration stuff. 56, though, it strikes me as post-World War II enthusiasm about American culture and civilization and all that.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of it might have been because of the Cold War.
Quite possibly.
Remember, Willie Capel was the big player of the Cacciatore
The
piano
concerto. Yeah.
and there was, and then Van Cliburn went over and wowed the Ruskies with his playing because it sounded just like the old-fashioned Russian school.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
he thereafter was historically and diplomatically important in 2 or 3 known situations where he was sent by the U.S. government to go over and talk to them as an unofficial diplomatic representative. But I can imagine that, we would want to promote all things American as great as it could be. And this would probably be one of our homegrown boys, right?
It is. A very valued book. It comes with a preface. This was edited by one Jean Barrett. It has a preface. It has editor's notes. She writes, 2 or 3 paragraphs on each piece of this book.
Who's the publisher?
The publisher?
Yeah. Oh, you said
Theodore Presser. Yeah.
Yeah, they did really good stuff.
Oh, they did excellent stuff.
I mean, lots of good notes and information and things like that.
Yeah, This has 8 pieces in it. Bambula, La
I know
Bananier,
that one.
the banjo, a berceuse, the Last Hope, L'Union, Pasquinade, and the Ricordati. So, anyways, this is the book I learned from. Now, eventually, years later, Dover would get a hold of it, and they came out with this. This book has everything that book has, and much, much more. I would imagine that most of this music here was printed in its original form. So you see these pedal markings are written within the staves, between the staves, instead of below the staves. Anyways, they also come with the, how should we say, the old covers when the music was published, like that. So these were quite possibly published separately. Let me see if I can find the banjo in here. Let's see. Here's Bambula when it was first published, the cover.
That's an example. Show them 2 pages. I mean, his stuff is not simple to music.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
definitely
this
not good at playing.
Which piece is this?
I don't know. That's
Oh, the Last Hope. Last Hope. Check out these. Check out the score. This is Last Hope.
Gottschalk?
Yeah, that's all Gottschalk.
This is the Dover one.
Yeah.
I don't have this.
So, anyways, Gottschalk.
Wow.
What can we tell you about Gottschalk? Gottschalk, not very many people have actually done any real study except for this guy. I'll pull it out. This book is by S. Frederick Starr. It is called Bambula. Let me show it to you. It's a very voluminous book. Check it out. It's called Bambula. Nice picture there of Gottschalk in the front. Now, incidentally, Bambula, I don't know where the term comes from, but I looked up what Bambula is, and basically what Bambula is, it's a drum. It's made from bamboo, and some animal skin is stretched over the top of the bamboo to create this drum, which hence why he called that one piece Bambula. It's in the key of D flat, and it's very rhythmic, consistently rhythmic. It has there's no real contrasting themes in it, except for when it goes into B flat minor. But otherwise, it's constant. It's like I said, like we've mentioned earlier, it's repetitive, but it's basically one of his showpieces. Now, Louis Moreau Gottschalk is one of those type of composers who absorbed everything. Not very many people know it, but his music doesn't just reflect island-type works from Jamaica or Puerto Rico or anything like that, but or even slave songs. Okay, now he does this. He absorbs those melodies, but the actual melodies, for the most part, are his. So I mean, it has influences, but the melodies are basically his. Now, if you look at his overall work as a composer for piano, you'll notice that some of the titles are in Spanish. So he's had some very Spanish influences, okay? And you listen to some of his music, you play some of it, and it's very Spanish sounding. You'll hear guitars, you'll hear strumming, you'll even hear little recitatives here and there where the guitar almost sounds like it has a cadenza type quality to it. Anything else? Now, he was born in 1829. He passed away in 1869. So the guy was only 40 years old when he passed away. Lots of sources have indicated that his death is somewhat a mystery, but I don't know. Personally, I think it was appendicitis. His appendix burst, and that's how he died.
It was in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah.
He died in South America.
So, but he's buried in New York at some I don't recall the name of the cemetery. It's something Green something. I can't something like that. But anyways, he'll be nearby rock bottom.
This is a really cool book. This actually divides his music into 4 different sections, and apparently it's all here. Can I read something?
Sure.
The final paragraph that's written about him as the man. He never married, preferring rather the life of gypsy musician adventurer. He acquired a notorious reputation for his sexual exploits, fathered at least 1 child. At his death in Rio de Janeiro on December 18th, 1869, only 40 years old, he was a man exhausted both physically and emotionally, who was also nearly broke. Though he earned a considerable fortune over the years, it was spent largely on others. The long-distance support of his mother, who had followed him to Paris in 1847 and who died there in 1856. She stayed there. The liquidation of debts left by his father upon his death in New Orleans in 1853. A pension for his childhood slave nurse, Sally. Innumerable gifts and handouts to friends and anyone else in need who appealed to his sympathies. His generosity became proverbial, just as his name has become synonymous with all that was brilliant, poetic, and original in American piano music of the mid-19th century. That's quite a statement. It's like quite a guy.
Yeah.
So the one other thing that they wrote about it, which is kind of cool, just briefly.
Sure.
Back here, 1 page, I noticed. Is this if Gottschalk were transposed to a later day, he might be regarded as a combination of Fritz Kreisler, the great artist tossing out delicious compositional bubbles, Kurt Weill, the profound composer speaking naturally in the popular style, and Virgil Fox, the theatrical virtuoso performer, sweeping back his cape to take a bow. It's very interesting. I'd be interested in reading more about it.
Yes, absolutely. You want to see the book? Or?
Yeah. Did you show it to them?
I did show it to them.
Wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
He's got some cool stuff.
So S. Frederick Starr, the author of this book, apparently he was president of the Oberlin College for a while.
Wow.
Before he retired.
This looks like a really thorough.
Oh, it's an excellent read. And it's not just his sources either. It's all footnoted and everything. So it's hard to find. So he did some traveling to find out who this guy was.
You know who he reminds me of, this picture?
He reminds me of Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp! Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Show him that picture.
All right, let me show
This is him as an older guy. But he looks, folks, if you know American history,
right here.
Wyatt Earp. I'll put a picture of Wyatt Earp up on the film, or on the podcast.
Maybe you could do a side by side.
Yeah, put them side by side. Picture of Gottschalk as an older guy, and Wyatt Earp.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm not quite sure how he got started in music. But eventually when he was about 16, he had already written some pieces already, the banjo and other works. And his father, who was I guess how do you say it? He was a French lawyer?
Yeah.
Or a French lawyer, businessman. And he married a French Creole wife. And so, those were his parents. And anyways, he wanted to study music, and so they had enough money to send him off to the Paris Conservatory. And apparently the guy who was head of the Paris Conservatory Music, Zimmermann, hearing that he was from America, wouldn't even let him audition. So he didn't get in.
Oh.
But while he was there in Europe, he did get to perform quite a bit. And he did find teachers. Guess who he studied with? He studied with a guy named Stamati.
Yeah.
And he studied with Thalberg.
Really?
He did. He got to sit and play for Sigismund or Sigmund. Sigismund Thalberg. So, but after that, the rest is history. He traveled.
Not as Edward.
Who?
Stamati.
Stamati, I don't remember. I know Stamati.
This
I've
is
heard of
really
it.
cool.
But anyways,
A lot of good pictures in there.
apparently he charmed his audiences. He could, I mean, he got to play some Chopin pieces as well. He could play Beethoven and Chopin just like all the other pianists, but all everybody wanted to hear was his own work. So he just pretty much succumbed to the idea of just doing what all the other composers did and just played mostly his work. Now, one more thing about Europe. So we know him playing, we know his compositions, Bamboula, La Bananière, the banjo, and a few other pieces. But the European influence is definitely there. Because we know that, because why? Because eventually he would learn to write waltzes. He composed 6 ballades, 6 of them. And he's also composed caprices. You know, we don't use those terms as far as classical piano is concerned in America very much. At least back then, you mostly hear, what you have here. So he stayed in Europe for a while, and by the time he was in his 20s, I guess, he came back to America, and after that, his reputation as a pianist took off like wildfire. He got offered a contract to perform with the P.T. Barnum, and he turned that down. So, but otherwise, all he did was travel, perform. Now, he does tell this one story in the book about how he spent a lot of time on trains, and he just didn't like being around the other passengers. So he decided to stay in the one car that had all the luggage. He used to travel with his own pianos, by the way. His 2 chosen pianos were Chickerings.
Yeah, Chickerings. Yeah.
Yeah, and he refers to them as his 2 mastodons. He refers to them, but he says he used to travel in these cars, and he just preferred the silence and not to be disturbed so that he could think his own private thoughts. But there was a smell that permeated the air that used to bother him. And he says it didn't take long for him to try to look for where the smell was permeating from. It wound up being bodies of Civil War soldiers. And so he wound up traveling in the car that carried the dead Civil War soldiers. Anyways, so you talk about the gypsy life and all this stuff that he was into. There is one story I thought was kind of humorous. If anybody should make a movie about a pianist, they definitely should make a movie about him. There's one incident that took place in what is now San Francisco. He did some concerts there, and of course, half his audiences would be filled with females. And he did have an affair with 2 young ladies who would be today considered underage today, because this happened while he was in his 30s. And so these 2 women were basically girls who were studying in schools at the seminary, the local seminary. And so, anyways, one thing led to another, and people found out, and it was such a scandal that his life was actually in danger at this point. And so, the authorities found him, and he just quietly snuck away out the window and found the closest train, went under disguise, and went back to his islands. The 2 women, their families and their parents were so disappointed in how they, let this guy take advantage of that they both wound up in convent. islands.
Wow.
So to make reparations for their sins.
Wow.
Now, what's interesting about
So this guy was a real Animal House character.
oh yeah, he was quite the character, drinking, and there's also other stuff. He was there's a story about how in his younger years he was also an incessant nail biter. He used to bite his nails, and so
they say sometimes nowadays that it can be a nervous problem.
yeah.
But actually, there's some medical evidence now which they believe it's a dietary issue. There's something missing, and the people chew on their nails because of the
Could be the calcium.
that and maybe gelatin or what are nails made of? I don't know, but
Yeah.
something like that. I've read that recently.
Well, anyways, there were stories about how after performing a recital, they were closing down the piano. The keys were covered in blood from his incessant nail bite. So,
God, dude.
yeah. But in his later years, he eventually decided to be returned to the solitude of his home, which was on one of these islands. And you'll love this. There was I guess he lived on a house that was built on a unactive volcano, and it was a crater. That's where his house was built, and that's where he had his piano.
Wow.
And so he says they had a nice smooth floor on top of the crater surface of the crater, and he pulled the piano out, and he would just play to himself, openly in the open air.
Oh.
And you'd see these palm trees and people, just doing their own thing, plantations and doing things, and the air, the birds. It's tropical.
Wow.
Could you imagine?
This is South America.
This is where he lived. I don't know whether it was
on an island.
On one of the islands. So, but anyways, that's boy.
You say it was 7 years or something he lived down there?
He lived. He lived his remaining years there. Eventually, somehow, somewhere, he had some stomach problems. At first, they said it was. Like I said, that whole mystery about medical issues. I think it was appendicitis, but they also said possible food poisoning.
Oh, well, that could happen.
Possibly
especially in weather like that.
So the doctors even, couldn't figure it out. They just blamed it on food poisoning, but there's suspicions that there could be appendicitis as well. So, but anyways,
I think it says something about him. I think about that my experience being around the world is because England had so many colonies around the world.
Yeah.
You meet English immigrants all over the place.
Yeah.
And I realized in Cyprus, which is such a sunny, lovely desert island in the Mediterranean, everything's surrounded by the Mediterranean. If you retire, would you rather live in Harry Potter land in one of those
castles?
No, one of the neighborhoods where the houses all look the same, they're just all over the place, and it's cloudy a lot of the time, cold and wet and all that.
Yeah.
Or you go to live in a desert island where it's sunny and beautiful, and sea winds coming and everything. I just saw British people living and choosing to live out the remaining years and dying and being planted, not in England.
Yeah.
But the cemetery in Cyprus, for example.
Wow.
I was one of the few Americans at Famagusta. And in general, of course, we Americans were all over the place too.
Yeah.
And there are immigrant Americans, famously something like Gertrude Stein, for example.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was interesting what it would be like to be an immigrant. I have been in my years abroad. And actually, when I left, I was going to think at some point I'd leave Cyprus. I was strongly considering relocating to Argentina or Chile.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But partially because of the cultures there, specifically music. Affordable. I thought Chile would be interesting because of Santiago, the largest Lebanese community outside of Lebanon. is in Santiago, Chile.
Yeah.
I love Lebanese food.
Oh,
I thought, wow, that would be great, you know. And then I know some really good musicians. Plus, they make really good wine in Chile.
Mhm.
In Argentina, I had been a pianist for a tango orchestra.
Mm.
And I thought, wow, that'd be kind of cool, just being where it came from and all that.
Yeah.
The economy was relatively good for somebody that came from outside.
Yeah.
I mean, Argentina infamously for quite a while was at their economy.
Yeah.
But what does it mean when you choose to live?
The way he does?
Well, to choose to live somewhere like, I mean, I know that there was Spanish and French influence.
Yeah.
Maybe he liked Europe. Maybe because his great international fame was because of Europe, not because of the United States.
Right.
And so when he was living, I think in mid-19th century Brazil, were they an independent country or were they still under the Kingdom of Spain?
I think they were still, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Certainly when you go down there, I think the lifestyle, that's pretty much, I mean, the lifestyle north of us in Canada, and parts of it, and definitely when you go down to the South America, it's much more European than we are here in the States. I mean, come on, America as U.S. Americans,
Yeah.
we have we actually really do have kind of a distinct architecture, culture, I mean, some history and everything, but yeah, the Golden Arches are kind of our thing, right? As opposed to this kind of European 19th century, early 20th century colonial kind of style of architecture, which is as close as Puerto Rico and Cuba to us, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of missed us. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought it's interesting that the guy, well, really interestingly, he probably spoke French fluently.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine maybe he spoke Spanish as well, English, but where he lived and died the remainder of his years, he had to spoke Portuguese.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a little bit of a weird language.
Yeah, it is. I've heard it.
Yeah.
So, folks, concerning his diverse styles here, as Mark mentioned earlier, the music in this Dover edition is actually divided into 4 parts.
I didn't know this book existed.
Look at this. The first part is dedicated to music composed in the United States ethnic and patriotic music. That's the first part. The second part here is music from Spain, influence from Spain. Look at this one. Part 3, West Indian souvenirs.
Wow.
And the fourth part, concert and salon music.
That's where the berceuse is.
Yeah, that's where the berceuse is.
So European influence kind of stuff.
Yeah, see, he even has a scherzo here. You know, there's a piece in here I wanted to look up. I keep forgetting to look it up because I heard a recording of it and it's not here.
So it's not necessarily complete, huh?
Oh, not this well, but there's a lot more music than
There's more there than I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's a piece
Gottschalk's
here.
Composition.
There's a piece here called one of his works is called Tournament Gallop, and I urge you that it's called Tournament Gallop, G-A-L-O-P, folks. If you know what gallops are, I encourage you to compare the Tournament Gallop to the Chromatic Gallop by Liszt.
Fred Liszt, I was going to say that.
Liszt.
That was one of Liszt's first most famous compositions.
Yes.
Which actually was often requested earlier on in his career, that he'd written this and published it. And I have a copy of it, the Chromatic Gallop, yeah. Plus you can get it in my ISLP.
Oh, absolutely. Folks, so the reason why I let Mark have the Gottschalk CD is because I have the complete solo piano music by Philip Martin. This is Hyperion as well. Here, I'll show it to you. It's a beautiful collection.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. But it comes here with a special booklet, pamphlet, notes on the work. This is it. Comes in a box.
I admire folks that take on these other composers, like what we do with our program.
Oh, absolutely.
That really devote themselves. I had thought years ago, Actually, and part of it was a period of time too when I was in Norway, and I visited Edvard Grieg's house and the compositional, what do you call it, the hut that he composed in and everything.
Yeah.
And I thought for a period of time of sitting down and recording all of Grieg's solo music.
Oh,
I know there's some people who have done that.
Oh, yeah.
But I really liked it in a way, and I loved the energy and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, everybody can play the big boys stuff, but when they do stuff like this, or like when you did the last program or two, there was a Swedish pianist that played all this different kind of music.
Yeah.
And this is interesting too, when a non-native person chooses a foreign composer.
Yeah.
Because it is a British guy.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool. It's
very cool.
It looks very professional.
It's Hyperion.
I wonder if this painting is by what's his name? Who's the French guy that lived with Van Gogh for a while? Paul Gauguin.
Yeah.
I think it might be Gauguin.
It might be Gauguin. So, anyways, that pretty much is Gottschalk. Glamorous, living in solitude at the end of near the end of his life. Now, I wanted to give a real quick. I brought in another composer. I guess we could call this part "All Pieces Considered."
This is different.
Different composer.
So this is All Pieces Considered.
All Pieces Considered.
Okay,
PSI.
Did you tell him that?
All right. We now start the next segment. PSI. All Pieces Considered. This will be interesting. A little bit of thought in this. I don't think so. See, the popcorn smell's gone after that movie.
Yeah.
This segment.
Yeah, part of
So
the
it's all
popcorn.
So, anyways, this is being July 4th.
Oh.
I found a composer that was actually born on July 4th, an American composer.
Oh.
You wouldn't think of this, but Stephen Foster.
He was born on the 4th of July?
On July 4th.
Ooh, this is American composer.
And this is, and believe it or not,
wow.
he actually composed some piano music.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not very much, but nevertheless, it's
There's
significant.
something in that collection of 19th century American music published by Dover, isn't there?
There could be.
Stephen Foster.
It could be.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I brought this over. This is published by Schirmer, distributed by Hal Leonard, edited by one Eugene List.
Wow.
So apparently Eugene List took an interest in
The American
Stephen Foster.
Yeah.
So here you have the Tioga Waltz, the Soiree Polka in four hands, the Village Bells, the Holiday Schottisch, the Santa Anna's Retreat from Buena Vista,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Old Folks at Home,
That's
a
very
theme and variations, and the Old Folks quadrilles or quadrilles?
Quadrille.
Quadrilles.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a dance.
Okay. I think most of these are
four-part,
dances.
Dance groups.
So, but anyways, they're interesting pieces. They have sort of this pianola quality to them. Oh, incidentally, about Gottschalk, these pieces being rather showy and rather sentimental in some ways, I would venture to put them perhaps in the second half of a program, which is what Leonard Pennario did when he played the banjo. But anyways, that's Stephen Foster. Now, I also found this collection, 3 melodies for solo piano by Stephen Foster, but these are concert transcriptions by a lady named Eleanor Remick Warren. I don't know if you've heard of her. I found these a long, long time ago at Half Price Books. And so knowing that they were song transcriptions, and I just looked through them and I thought, well, I definitely ought to pick this up. So, Eleanor Remick Warren, this is a foreword that she wrote in 1940. She says, "The melodies of Stephen Foster have sung themselves into the hearts of the American people to the extent that many of them have come to be regarded as folk songs. They are certainly the most beloved of our earlier native music, but they combine the folk song feeling with one of classic beauty. They poured from the heart of Stephen Foster, who had a genius for melody, but in many cases the words failed to meet the standard of the music. Therefore, they are particularly adaptable for instrumental transcription. I have transcribed them freely for concert use." So here we have Jeannie with the light brown hair, which is an F major. It's 3 pages long. We also have a transcription here of Beautiful Dreamer. She writes it in A flat. This one's a little lengthier than the first one. It's 4, maybe 5 pages long.
That's pretty
5
dense
pages long.
stuff there.
And the last in this collection is Camptown Races, which is in the key of G major, and it's, wow, 5 pages long as well. So those are very feasible as possibly putting in.
You know anything about the lady?
I know almost next to nothing about this lady. There is 1 or 2 pianists on YouTube that actually perform these. Otherwise, virtually unknown.
Well, the way she's written this with the big notes for the melody,
Yep.
it's reminiscent of
Percy Granger, I was going to say.
Did you say that already?
No, I didn't
Wow.
say that. Yeah, I
This
know.
is like Amy Beach difficulty stuff.
Yeah, sure is.
Very holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has got lists.
Let's hand in it.
And then Amy, wow, what?
Yeah.
This lady could play. It's interesting, there's just a teeny bit, I'll look up some more about her, but
Yeah.
by the 1940s, however, a happy marriage and a growing family caused her to limit her concert appearances to performances by singers of her own music for whom she played the accompaniments.
Yeah.
But, wow, this lady was something else.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like maybe our American version of Clara Schumann
Oh, could be.
in the 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
I'll look her up.
Yeah. I only know one recording. Only know one artist that has done these works commercially. She goes by the name of Sarah Buchner. Don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
Buchner, spelled Buchner. And she regularly performs these. So
Well, that's really good stuff, Elmer.
So there you have it.
Is that our show?
That is our show.
Cool. Well, that feels a little bit more bearable to edit this time.
Yes. So we're
Did
at
you
two-
guys like it? Did you?
Yeah, I hope you had a good time.
Mr. Fognick, did you not fall asleep? No.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed our content, you enjoyed our company today, please leave a comment below.
Thanks for doing all this work. This was
Sure thing.
really nice stuff.
Absolutely.
You brought in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always an adventure.
Yeah.
It's always, I being a pianist, I live for this stuff, really.
Yeah.
We practice, we learn repertoire, we like to perform, we like to study, we like to read, look through scores and find what kind of other, scratching the bottom of the iceberg, so to speak.
He always brings interesting stuff out of that house, I guess, which I've never seen, which is okay. But it's always interesting. I've just had this flash of like Jack Benny. Remember Jack Benny?
Yes, I do.
Canadian violinist.
Yeah.
How
Hey,
at
Bob.
his radio station, he used to go down to the basement to get stuff get money out of
The bass, the vault.
out of the vaults down beneath the house. There's that old guy that guarded the place that's supposed to have been there since the Civil War. I have a feeling that he's got a vault-like setting over at this place. He
No
goes
vault, but
or like when Uncle Fester goes down and into the catacombs and finds something down there.
very close to it. So anyways, give us a subscribe, give us a like, okay? Tell your friends and family about us. and come back again so we could do some more stuff like this for you.
Yeah. I'm Dr. Mark.
I'm Elmer.
And this is PSI.
Piano
Scene Investigations. Happy 4th, everybody.
Yes.